Hey, good morning. How are you all today? Welcome to Integrated Preparedness. Gonna make a few short ones today, just because I don't feel like doing a long one, and we're doing a few that are just a little bit different. Well, quite a bit different than what I usually do. Getting ready for the big gathering Saturday, so I'm getting ready for that. Second annual Stonemont Integrated Preparedness Gathering. If you're coming to that, I can't wait to see you. The Charlie Kirk assassination. What do you think about that? I just, from the very beginning, none of it made any sense to me. And I had a long conversation yesterday with a guy. He's retired military, retired special forces, retired as a colonel. And has done, I'm not going to say anything more about him. He's done so much more than that. Still at it, still in the game. And he has a depth and breadth of knowledge that would shock you. And he called me yesterday, and we talked for, I don't know, maybe an hour, something like that. And among the many things that we talked about was the JFK assassination and the Charlie Kirk assassination. Now, he sent me several scenarios that he had considered. It was quite detailed, a long write-up. And I found each one of them very interesting and plausible about what happened with Charlie Kirk. But let me posit this to you. What do you think the possibility is that Charlie Kirk's assassination was totally faked? And I don't mean we didn't get, they arrested the wrong guy, they arrested the patsy. You know, we all see that, right? Well, what do you think the chances are that it didn't even happen? Are you all aware of, are you familiar with the evidence that may point in that direction? I'm not going to line out all of the points here. It's not my intention to make the case for that or any other possible scenario that happened here. We do know that it's highly unusual. And one of the things that he and I discussed yesterday, is the fact that most people in the world, even if they think they are aware, if they don't have the background in either fairly specialized police or military, they don't understand what many things mean that they're seeing. They see things, but they don't understand what they mean. And I told him, I said, it's easy. People react to things emotionally, and the powers that be, or as Kevin Altepeter says, the powers that should not be, and I agree with him on that. The powers that should not be know this. They're very good at manipulating the emotions of the people. And it's easy to manipulate the emotions of the masses with broad brush strokes. Now, those of you, and that's all of you all who are thinking people, you see the cracks. You see things, and you may not see exactly the truth, but you know when you see BS, right? You know when you see things that just don't make sense, don't fit together. I don't know. You say, yeah, that just doesn't. I don't get it. That just doesn't jive. And so you see that. So the funny thing was, when I first saw, what had happened with Kirk, I immediately said, this doesn't make sense. Nope, doesn't make sense at all. And it wasn't long after, I would say within a couple of hours, I wondered, the thought occurred to me, I wonder if this is faked. I saw a lot of little things in there that indicated to me that it might be fake. I never said anything to anybody. I don't come on here. I'll discuss some of these things with Kelly, but I don't come on here and talk about conspiracies. Even though I'm aware of, I don't know if I'm aware of all of them. Who of us knows if we're aware of all of them, right? But the ones of which I am aware, I think that most of them are not theories. They are conspiracy facts. But I never mentioned it to anybody. I thought this absolutely could be faked. And so it's just been within the last week or so that I've started seeing little squibs coming up on different channels. Offering this theory that it's faked. And they are certain. And they bring some pretty good evidence. The things that there are a number of things that bothered me about it. Erica Kirk's reaction, the things, I would not want to question anybody's reaction. We all react differently to different things, and I can't even imagine the shock of, if this really did happen, of what it brings to the spouse, to the wife. But it just seemed a little bit off. Well, I'll be honest, it seemed way off to me. Seemed way off. The staged holding the hand in the casket, it seemed, made for TV. The celebration that they had, it wasn't. It was a political thing. It wasn't a. It wasn't a religious thing, although this thing has brought a lot of people to Christ, apparently, and that's good. But it was really a political thing with Trump and Vance and all the political people up there. Erica's entrance out there to the sparklers and the fireworks and everything, I thought was just off the weird chart. If you look into her background, it causes questions. Realize that I'm not making any accusations here. I'm offering things that, if you care to, you might want to look into. Look into her background. And then look into Charlie Kirk's relationship with his donors. Realize who his donors were. He had always been very pro-Israel. Until recently, and he started questioning. And apparently, some of his big donors, Zionist donors, Jewish donors, were unhappy with the fact that he was asking questions about Gaza, about Palestine, about the Israeli responses, about the Israel lobby, the AIPAC influence in our government. And he was starting to ask questions. And so he was summoned to a meeting in the Hamptons, to where a lot of these donors were, and I guess they really took it to him, from what is reported, and not on the mainstream press, but what is reported, I guess they pretty much got in his face, and there was a bunch of yelling and screaming, and he'd better get back in line, and if he wanted the money. And then apparently he received a call from Netanyahu himself. I'm getting deeper into this than I meant to. That's all right. That's okay. Maybe some of you are interested. So apparently he was contacted by Netanyahu himself, who promised him $150 million if he would get back on the Zionist gravy train and get back to promoting Israel's interests and stop asking questions. And he refused. And then he was invited to come to Israel to where they could discuss it. And they say, those who are on the inside apparently, say that he felt very threatened by that. I mean, threatened as actually fear. If you want some of this, I would suggest, you know, people who start investigating things that the world tells you not to investigate are first held up as crazy, right? What is that? You've probably heard it at first, when you think outside the box, when you have no idea, first you're insane, and then, as more and more people start to realize the truth, then you become a hero. It's much more involved than that. But anybody who goes off the reservation and starts talking about things that just isn't the common fare is easily pushed off as being nutsos, right? Well, I would say we have some people who in the past were pretty solid and are now considered nutsos, and you might ask yourself, what happened? What is the truth behind what happened to Tucker Carlson? What is the truth behind what happened to Candace Owens? What is the truth behind what happened to Megyn Kelly? Matter of fact, there's one on, there's an interview by Megyn Kelly of Charlie Kirk shortly before he was killed that brings some of this out. And I'll tell you, Candace Owens is just bringing it out. How do I say this without getting banned? Boy, I hope she keeps doing okay. I'll just put it that way. I hope that nothing happens to her. So as I got to thinking, and all these things, all these pressures coming down on him, and then right after, the so-called, if he was assassinated, Erica takes over TPUSA, Turning Point USA, for those of you who may not know. That was the immense organization that Charlie Kirk built. She takes it over, and she's the new CEO, and interesting. So what had occurred to me, and I'm not giving you the answer, I'm giving you the question. I said to myself, if I were in his situation, might I just be tired of all the BS and maybe want to make an exit? Or did they come to him and say, well, Charlie, we can't have this anymore. We can't have your questions. You've got too big of an audience, and you're just going to have to disappear, and we can do it one of two ways. We can do it the easy way or the hard way, right? And we can either just have you disappear. We'll use holographic projectors and cameras and a trap door right under your chair. You all familiar with all this stuff? And we'll make it look like you were shot and blood all over you, but when you're being carried to the car, there's no blood on your white t-shirt. We'll make you disappear, and then we'll set you up somewhere, so that you can enjoy the rest of your life with your kids. And but you shut up and you stay out of, and everybody thinks you're dead and you're a hero, and live a nice life while Erica continues to run it and take our money. Or we can do it the hard way, which means we don't fake your death. In other words, it ain't gonna be fake. There's a lot going on in our world. Nothing that you and I can do anything about, but it's good to stay abreast of these things, right? Like I was telling the guy that I was talking to on the phone yesterday. We were talking about our past. I told him how I got out of the life, and how most people have no idea how deep and dark world and state is. And that the deeper you go, the less light you can see from the good side. And I said, I got to the point, I got deep enough at one point that I didn't know which way was, I barely knew which way was up or down, or right or left, or sideways, or whatever. I almost lost sight of the surface, but just saw enough that I said, boy, I don't want to go any deeper. I want to get back to the surface, to a real life. So, that's where most people are. Most people are on the surface. I'm not saying that you should. Matter of fact, I would warn anybody against going too deep. I've gone deep in a couple of things and don't want any part of either one of them anymore. So, you do what you want, but just be aware. Consider things. Look at the world with a discerning eye. Don't look at what they're trying to get you to watch over here. Watch the other hand. And let it inform you and let it guide you in your life decisions, as hopefully you continue to live a good life, raise a good family, try to minimize the effect of these insane people on your life, and live the life the good Lord meant you to live. So, if this stuff interests you, look into it. I think you'll be surprised. I think you'll be shocked at some of the things you'll discover. You all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.